Movies are made to capture the attention of the audience. A lot of that job falls on the shoulders of the actors because the audience's eyes are usually focused on them. Whether it's through breathtaking stunts, funny moments, sheer emotionally inspired brilliance, or otherwise, an actor's performance is designed to keep an audience fixated on them. But if you can manage to pull your eyes away from them for a little, you might catch some pretty interesting stuff going on in the background. Stuff like extras behaving strangely, confusing cameos, bizarre objects, or things that simply shouldn't be there can all be seen in the background of movies, if you're looking for them. This video will take a look at some great examples of those things. Here are the 10 weirdest things found in the background of famous movie scenes. Ghostbusters. Set in New York City, 1984's Ghostbusters saw the iconic team defending the Big Apple from a wave of supernatural beings. Towards the end of the movie, after the ghost containment unit had exploded, a crowd of people gathered to witness the resulting devastation. That crowd was mostly made up of generic extras, presumably there to make a few bucks and to get to hang out on a movie set. But if you look close enough, you'll actually see that a legend of the pornographic industry was among them. None other than Ron Jeremy himself, sporting his iconic trademark mustache, can be seen to the left of the screen in one particular shot. Mr. Nanny. Hulk Hogan on the big screen. That's something we'd all rather forget, right? Well, sadly, it definitely happened, as the early 90s saw the wrestling superstar trying really hard to become the next Arnold Schwarzenegger. 1993's Mr. Nanny was atrocious and weird in itself, but the weirdest thing in the movie was a random thing that happened in the background. As Hogan's character was riding on his motorcycle near the ocean, some random guy can be seen throwing his dog into the ocean behind him. It's a good thing Hogan didn't notice this bizarre act by the man in question, as it might have resulted in Hulkamania running wild all over him. Brothers?
Let's dance, dickweed.
Anchorman. In the hilarious Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, Veronica Corningstone, Burgundy's rival, lover, and eventual co-anchor, visits a Mexican restaurant with a group of her female co-workers. Now before the scene in question, the sign for the restaurant is shown on screen. Its name is Escupimos en su alimento, which for the predominantly English-speaking audience means absolutely nothing. However, when that name is translated into English, it actually means we spit in your food. Delicious.
Drop the. Just Facebook.
The Social Network. In David Fincher's brilliant The Social Network, Jesse Eisenberg delivered an Oscar-nominated performance as founder Mark Zuckerberg. In one particular scene in the movie, he's seen working on Facebook at his computer. For a brief moment, he could be seen on the profile of a certain Tyler Durden, as the words Tyler Durden's photos were clearly visible on screen. Tyler Durden was of course the iconic main character in Fight Club, a movie that was also helmed by Fincher earlier in his career. Back to the Future Part 3. At the end of Back to the Future Part 3, when Christopher Lloyd's Emmett Brown returns from his time-traveling exploits to visit Marty McFly in the present day, he reveals that he and Clara had 2 children, Jules and Vern. While Emmett and Marty are chatting, in the background, the child playing Vern can be seen making a come-on gesture whilst pointing at his crotch. Kinda weird. One theory regarding this is that he was indicating that he needed to use the bathroom, while another suggests he was mimicking a gesture being made off-camera by a member of the movie's crew. Either way, it's a little bit creepy, and definitely one of the most can't unsee moments of movie history. The Dark Knight Rises. In general, the fight choreography in all 3 of Nolan's Dark Knight movies was pretty damn good, but a particular scene in The Dark Knight Rises had a weird moment that didn't fit with the rest of the awesomeness. There's a scene on a rooftop in which Christian Bale's Batman and Anne Hathaway's Catwoman are fighting Bane's henchmen, and in the background you could see one of the henchmen in a combat pose. Then, out of nowhere, without anyone actually touching him, he falls to the ground as if he'd just been nailed by the Dark Knight. Add telekinesis to Batman's skill set, I guess. Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. After reclaiming the Black Pearl in the final scene of this Pirates movie, Captain Jack Sparrow orders his merry band of pirates to get to work on the deck. As they start to spread out to get on with their respective duties, a very out-of-place man can be seen in the background wearing a white t-shirt and a cowboy hat, staring out into the ocean. Basically, a crew member had accidentally placed himself in a shot and nobody noticed it during the production or post-production. Yeehaw, I guess? Tron. The very nature of Tron meant that it was begging to be packed with video game references and Easter eggs, and there were indeed several of them. The most prominent allusion to any video game, however, is definitely Pac-Man. When Sark, one of the movie's antagonists, is on the bridge of his command ship surveying a map of the system, a tiny Pac-Man can be seen working his way around the map, and if you listen carefully enough, you can even hear the sound effects from the game. Namely the noise Pac-Man himself makes as he moves around the maze-like levels. Star Trek Into Darkness. Star Trek and Star Wars have long been seen as the 2 mightiest science fiction franchises in Hollywood. and as a result, there's something of a rivalry between the two franchises and their fans. However, in Star Trek Into Darkness, there's actually something of a minor crossover between the two. In the middle of the Vengeance's attack on the USS Enterprise when part of the iconic starship was badly damaged, Star Wars character R2-D2 can be seen being sucked out of it and propelled into space. Of course, J.J. Abrams was on directorial duties for the movie, and he would later go on to direct Star Wars The Force Awakens. Given that he's a huge fan of both franchises, this was a clever Easter egg on his part. Iron Man. Thinking about it now, seeing Captain America's shield in any MCU movie wouldn't be much of a surprise. However, when a prototype of it appeared on Tony Stark's workbench in the first Iron Man movie back in 2008, it was nothing short of mind-blowing for comic book fans. At that time, shared comic book movie universes didn't even exist, and a Captain America movie wasn't even in the cards, so it was really quite a surprise to see it. Of course, since then, the prototype appeared even more prominently in Iron Man 2, and Captain America has had 3 of his own movies, as well as appearing in 2 Avengers Ensemble films. But that doesn't alter the fact that it was a strange, albeit welcome sight at the time. Thanks for watching our list of the 10 weirdest things in the background of famous movie scenes. What other strange things have you seen in the background of movies? Let us know in the comments section below, and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one.